question I'd like to answer today is, what value are you providing to your organisation? I'm going to walk you through a very simple model. Now, it's one that, as a coach, I think about every time I sit down with a client, every time I am working with them, because this is what I believe that my role is as a coach, fundamentally. Now, of course, I'm helping them in lots of different ways and working on some very specific leadership things. But there is one goal in the end that I'm wanting to achieve, and I think it's something that we can all learn from. What this represents here is where people work. So this is where you are. This is the work that you do today. This is the work of your direct reports. And this is the work of your team. So basically what I'm saying is, this is the work you do, this is the work your direct reports do, and this is the work your team do on a day-to-day basis. But what we should always be looking to do, what we should always be aiming for, is to be able to move into higher value work. Higher value work. And we do this through getting into higher level thinking. So what I'm saying here is that by our ability to move into a higher level of thinking, so that is thinking on a bigger stage, thinking about bigger ideas, about what you can do next, how you can change, how you can innovate, how you can grow, how you can develop. Moving into that type of thinking will inevitably move you into higher value work. So it looks like this. What we really want you to do, if that's where you're working today, is we want you to be able to do this. And that is to step up and move into this area here. And that becomes the new area of work that you have. Now obviously, if you look at that, what's created is a void underneath you. A void of this area here where you used to work, but you're not doing that work anymore. Things that you've handed over. What we would expect, of course, is that your direct reports would move up into that void. And so therefore, what happens with them is that they move up into higher value work. Now interestingly, this higher value work here that you're doing becomes higher value. This is higher value work for you, but this work here is lower value work for you. So the work that you're handing over to your direct reports is in fact your lower value work. But for your direct reports, this becomes higher value work, if you understand what I'm saying. Because it's lower value work to you, it is higher value work to them. So what happens here is the direct reports are therefore going to hand over lower value work to them, and the team are going to move up into this area here, which once again becomes higher value work for them. I know that sounds a little confusing. What we're saying here is that as you are moving up, as you're moving into higher level thinking and higher value work, you're creating a void, allowing the people underneath you to continue to develop, to continue to grow, and to move them into higher level thinking and therefore higher value work. Don't worry too much about the fact that the team's area seems to shift, because clearly we're trying to keep the amount of work you're doing at the same level, so you're not just increasing hours. But the team, they will make judgments. They will start to discriminate about the work they do, and inevitably they will start to drop away the lower value work that they do as we progress, as we innovate, as we start to make decisions of what's no longer adding value. What you need to focus on though is consistently moving forward, consistently growing in your leadership and your ability to add value to the organisation. And so you need to do this by constantly thinking about how you go moving forward. Now one of the things I've always got to point out is when you're going into this higher value work, it isn't going to jump in 50% increments like I've said there. It's going to be much smaller increments. We get that. The reason why I do this is I can show a void and you can show how you move up into the void. It's purely for the aesthetics of it. But the reality is we need to constantly be challenging ourselves to add greater value through higher level thinking. That's my job as a coach, is to challenge people to do that. And that's your job as a leader, to challenge yourself to continue to grow. I hope this helps and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.